to prime it, you place your finger over, they call this the stinger. This is on the exhaust pipe. Place it very tightly over the stinger of the exhaust and you pull. So this hasn't started. Thing that I think is maybe it needs to be primed a little bit more. So I'm going to put my finger over the stinger and I'm going to try it one more time and we'll see. Alright, same thing. So we're having problems. At this point then, here's where you get into your heat gun. I'm telling you, what an amazing difference heating your engine makes. Next up is the Exceed Force. It's probably going to stop when I pull this out. Okay, so that's a whole other issue altogether than starting it, is when I take out the glow plug on why it's stopping, and that has to do with the actual tuning of the engine itself. So, is rich in the engine, lean out the engine just a little bit. I'm going to begin with the high-speed needle here, and I'm going to turn it counterclockwise, probably just about 1/8 of a turn. And with that, I'm also going to lean out the low-speed needle just a little bit. So now that we've done that, what we want to do is we want to try it again. So when you have problems starting it and you troubleshoot things like that, but you've already primed it, don't prime it again. You do not need to prime it again. The gas, the fuel is still in there, I assure you, okay? So the fact we already got it started and we know that, it does not need to be primed. So we'll give it another try here. Whoop. Again, this thing is tough to start. Alright, let's see how it goes. Oh boy, it's not liking things. So let's see. This time I'm going to hold it up. A little bit of gas. Alright, so we need to troubleshoot a little bit. And so the next thing then you want to do is test the carburetor opening. So the problem here is it's not idling, right? So we've checked the glow plug, that works. We've leaned it out a little bit. Before we start really leaning it out, we want to check a few other things, and that would be the carburetor opening. So what I'm going to do is adjust the throttle trim and open it up just a little bit, just to make sure that it's getting a little more fuel into the carburetor as it idles. And we'll try it and see what happens here. And there you go. That was it. So there you go. That was it. It was the throttle needed to be adjusted just a little bit. As I mentioned, I had the engine out today. I had the whole car part today, putting things back. So that's what that problem was. Now, let's spend a little bit of time going over, as I mentioned, the finite things that can go wrong, preventing you from starting your Nitro engine. Always start with the glow plug. You hear it a lot, and you hear it a lot for a reason. After you've gone through the things that I mentioned, simply get your T-wrench out, take out the glow plug, check it, make sure you're getting a bright light, and that will allow you to know that both your glow plug igniter and the glow plug itself is working very well. If your glow plug and your igniter check out, then the next thing you want to ensure is that your engine has been properly primed. So I would give it maybe one additional pull. What you're looking for here is you don't want the pull start to become too tight to pull, because once you've done that, then you've flooded the engine and you want to stop pulling at that point. So it's a balancing act between, it's all about the pull start. So you need to get that feel for how smooth the pull start should be. Okay. If you do start to get a really tight pull and it's lifting up the car and it's hard, as I mentioned, first stop, take out the glow plug and deflood the engine. So just get a rag or something and pump real hard, get all the extra gas out of there. Then start over. And next time give it less of a brine. Check your fuel lines, make sure that there's no leaks or kinks. Just make sure that they're distributing what they need to distribute. And believe it or not, also check to see if you've put fuel in it. It's if it hasn't happened to you, I promise you it will. It happened to me once, and I just after trying to start the car, I was like, okay, what's going on here? And I almost got into the glow plug, and I started thinking, and I go, oh my goodness, I can't believe I forgot to put fuel in. So one of those things where I felt like an idiot, but at least I was glad it was something very simple like that. If you do have fuel and all of that, check the carburetor opening. So at idle, and make sure that you're trying to start the car at this point with the radio and the receiver both on, and look at the carburetor opening and make sure that it's not fully closed. Now let's say that you've made some form of a modification to the engine or anything like that. Then start thinking about compression that's getting into the engine, or that's not really getting into the engine. Check your shims down below the button head and below the heatsink, and make sure that you don't have any bent shims. One time I had an engine and I couldn't get it started. It was on the Professor. I tried for a long time to get it started, and eventually it started burning my glow plugs. I got it started, but it just would burn a glow plug like that. And it turned out that one of my shims on it was bent. So check that. Also check your heatsink. Make sure that it's screwed in. This is something else that happened to me once. Is I was unable to get this car actually started after rebuilding the engine, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then so finally I just went to go check the screws on here, and it turned out one of them was kind of loose, and so I screwed it back in, and boom, it started up immediately after that. And so I try to do the star technique, and the whole idea is you want to get even strength around, and I guess that time I didn't double check my work or something, I don't know. But anyways, that's something else that I've had to fix once to get it going. Also check your back plate. If you have to, at that point, you want to start looking at maybe taking the engine out. Of course, as I mentioned, heat gun, I would, before doing much of anything, one of the very first things that I would recommend is to put heat on it. Whether it's a blow dryer or a heat gun itself, that will certainly help get it started. Don't tell anybody, but I promise you, starting up one of these is much, much more fun than starting up one of these. Just my opinion. Sorry guys. Nitro's where it's at. Take care. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer. Have a great night.